So we are here with Bella and Briana, who run their blog called Accessible Brisbane, and we're very excited to have you guys here today.
Thanks for having us.
Always a pleasure. So first question I'd like to ask, can you guys just tell me a little bit about each of you and how you guys became such good friends?
Yeah. So Briana and I met when she was still at school, and we just seemed to get along really well. We like a lot of the same things. We just had a good connection, good back and forth, and at that time, like this was years ago now, and Bri hadn't done much travelling. Her health hadn't been so good before. During her teenage years, it hadn't been so good, and so she spent a lot of time at home, and I hadn't done a lot either. And together we just sort of started exploring more around just local area first, around Brisbane, just trying things that historically could not be considered accessible, like, well, dance class, you know, joining dance class, going to South Bank, going to the beach, and then more and more, and then now we've travelled more. We go stay away at places and we've been on an airplane this year as well. We went down to Sydney, and so that's like really, really exciting. And yeah, we just want to make the most of the life that we've each got.
That's awesome. I was watching one of your videos and you explained a little bit about like how you guys are able to communicate, and I know a lot of people don't understand that, so I was wondering if you'd be able to show us a little bit about that.
Sure. So Bri's non-verbal, but she can say yes and no using her head and her eyes. So when Bri says yes, like when we have questions, she puts her eyes up. Do you think you could show us? Eyes up for yes? That's no. Go on. I'll ask you a question you can't say no to. What if I was like, Bri, do you like coffee? Yes. There you go. And so then Bri also has her pod on her iPad, which we can go through, and she can say yes or no to the answer. So like if it was like, if we were talking about something, often I'll be like, Bri, do you like the wine? I like this or I don't like this, and then she'd be able to say yes or no to which one it is. So I like this, and then there's more choices through there, and we just go through until we get to the word that she wants or what she wants to say. So we can just keep going through, no matter how long it takes, because it's important that you get to say what you want to say.
It's one of, in terms of, especially with non-verbal people who are in wheelchairs and stuff, what do you think is the biggest misunderstanding?
I think that people believe that a body that is broken cannot contain a brain that is bright. And I think they, in that respect, do not really think that, do not take that Bri should have the same experiences and can appreciate the same experience as someone who can walk and talk, that she can fully enjoy and deserves to enjoy life in the same way that I get to, because I was by chance able to walk and talk. And I think people often treat Bri as younger than her years, and you know, want her to remain an eternal child when she is a 22-year-old adult.
No, I completely agree. I remember when I was about 8 or 9 when my dad was in a wheelchair. My dad used to get really annoyed because waiters would be like, "Oh, what does he want for starter?" My dad would be like, "I'm right here. You know, you can ask me." You know.
Yeah, people often say to me, they say, we'd stand together, and they say to me, "She's beautiful," and I just want to say back to them, like, you know, talk directly to them and be like, "So is she."
So, what made you both decide to actually start sharing the accessibility that you guys do?
I think that it was that our friends were coming up against struggles, or they weren't able to think of things to do. So like both of our friends, but especially my friends who are support workers, who work in day-based programs and in Brisbane, and they were looking for activities that they could do, and they were just getting stuck in the same routines. And I was like, there's a whole big city out there and beyond, and it's like we can do more. And also the other reason was we do go places and it's it's not accessible, and it's really frustrating. And we wanted to bring more light to that issue, so that we can access the world better and that everyone can be more inclusive.
I guess my second question would be, what are the most common barriers specifically in Brisbane that you often seem to face?
In terms of accessibility, I think the barriers come from people's misunderstandings. And so what I mean by that is, we went out for dinner on Friday night with a bunch of friends, local and not local. And a friend of ours, Madeline Little, she booked the restaurant and she called and she made sure that they knew our access requirements, and they asked about the bathrooms. And she was told resounding yes, that the bathrooms were upstairs, but there was a lift to them, and that would be fine. And so during the night we went up to the bathroom, they got us in the lift, swiped us up, but there actually wasn't a disabled toilet, there was only a ladies and a gents. So people are so keen to be like, yes, we're accessible, you know, we have a ramp, but that ramp might then lead to a really sharp corner that you can't navigate. Do you know what I mean? Like, people don't understand. Yes, that's great that we can get up to the second toilet, but if there's not a bathroom we can use, it was all for nothing.
Yep. Awesome. Next question. Have you found that there's more inclusivity and accessibility since Brisbane released their access and inclusion plan? Do you think it's improved things? Or
the 2012 to 2017
yeah.
one? Yeah, in a way, yeah, definitely. Just by, the big thing has been the changing places that have come because of this. So as a direct result of the Action and Inclusion Plan 2012 to 2017, changing places were really introduced to Brisbane. That has made a huge difference. That has meant that people who need hoists and change tables can go out and stay out for a day. There needs more. We need more. Because currently there's about, I could name where they all are, and it's really good that they're there.
Yeah.
Like, there's the city, there's Mount Coot Botanic Gardens, there's a few in the city, there's one at South Bank, there's one at a park in Holland Park, and there's some at a couple of pools as well, which is really good. And there's maybe, and the airport has one now too.
Oh, awesome.
So that's really good. But more places need them, especially like shopping centres. So Pacific Fair on the Gold Coast has one, but that's the only shopping centre that has one. Garden City has an adult change table. We like Pacific Fair, but it doesn't have a hoist.
Okay.
So, you know, we just need more places to do it. But yeah, with the Access and Inclusion Plan, the changing places has made a huge difference. That has been something we really have noticed.
Yeah, getting better. Good.
Yeah.
Turn a little more towards the travel. I understand you recently both went to Sydney.
Yes.
Which was very exciting, because I know, Briana, you haven't been on a plane for 10 years, was it?
I think so, about 10 years, since you were really little. Yeah.
So it's awesome that you guys were able to go.
Yeah.
How did you find the process of actually being able to plan the holiday? Like, what sort of went involved, especially with flying as well?
Yeah, it was hard. It was a challenge because there was a lot of unknown as well. And the flying added in a new level as well. So we flew with Qantas, and we were really pleased in general with the service that we received through Qantas. We had a hiccup at the start, where we were charged a booking fee for booking over the phone, but because Brie has additional needs, I had to book over the phone.
Yeah.
Eventually it was waived. So I would suggest, if you are booking with Qantas and have to book over the phone, you say in your initial phone conversation that you need the booking fee waived because of the reason why you're calling.
Yeah.
Otherwise it's $40 per person for the booking fee.
Kidding. Yep. Pricey pretty quickly.
Yeah, $40 per person.
Yeah.
But when we actually got there, it was relatively easy. So on the way down, we booked for Brie to have an upper torso restraint, which she didn't actually end up needing, which was really good. And we tried all different methods of transfers just to try them all. So they've got a hoist, it's called an Eagle Lifter.
Awesome.
So we tried that, and then also we tried just like using the aisle chair and me lifting, and then the very last time we were up the front of the plane, so I just carried you off, didn't I?
Nice and easy.
Yeah.
Not so easy for everybody though.
No, it's not, and especially with there is a big catch-22 with flying with Qantas or with any airline. Though Qantas is the only one I know of personally that do provide an upper torso restraint if you need one. There might be more, but I don't know of them. The issue is, if you need that upper torso restraint, you have to sit up the back because that's where the anchor point is, kind of like a car seat. If you need an eagle lifter, you can't be lifted into the back row. It doesn't work for the back row. And therein lies the catch-22 of
can't have both.
You can't have both. So, but all that aside, the people were really nice, and that makes a huge difference. They were ready to help. They were positive. So that was the flying part. And so for accommodation in Sydney, we stayed for a small amount with my family, which was great because we knew that they were accessible already. And then we also decided to stay in the city for a bit because they're quite far out in the western suburbs. And we booked an Airbnb that was considered accessible. We sent an email detailing our access requirements, and they reassured us it was all accessible. And when we got there, the step was so extreme, we had to take Bree's stabilizers off to tilt her back. It took 2 people. Luckily that we had it, and luckily she was in a manual chair, and luckily she felt safe enough for us to do it. And she basically had to go all the way back for us to even get up the step. Again, once we were in there, it's pretty good, but that's actually not accessible.
Yeah, it's quite a big.
Yeah, it's just not.
Difficult. How about getting around Sydney? Was that? Did you find it better than Brisbane, or?
It was much the same. There are different taxis in Sydney as well that are accessible taxis, so not just the Toyota Hiace maxi cabs. There were some others, which was kind of cool to try because it was a bit nifty. But in general, it was fairly similar. Sydney has like 0 changing places though. So in the entire of Sydney, I think there might be about 3. So that was really difficult in the sense that we went to Taronga Zoo, but we had to cut our trip short so that we could get back to the apartment so that, Brie could actually use the toilet, which is a basic human right and dignity. So that was challenging because in Brisbane City, there's at least 4 changing places. So even if you were out somewhere, you could get to one, whereas Sydney, there's just none. That was really difficult.
Especially when you're travelling, you want to spend the maximum amount of time you can out in the city.
Exactly.
So, I completely get that. In terms of back to the flying point, do you think it's possible to be able to do longer flights, or do you think that there's extra things that you would need, and what sort of those things that you need to do those, especially to travel internationally?
Yeah,
my family's all in the UK, so my dad has to sit on a plane for 26 hours.
Yeah, I think that there would be a limit to how long you could sit in an airplane seat before you got uncomfortable. Yeah? Do you agree? Would you get uncomfortable? Yes. Yeah. If you had to sit in it for too long. I think that we would be limited like the length of New Zealand before having to stop. For a few reasons. One, nobody likes airplane seats at the best of times, but when you can't shift your weight around or move easily, or just get up and go for a walk, it's a lot more challenging. And then as a caregiver, it's really hard for me to reposition Brie in an airplane seat because there's not much space. So that's one thing. I think if we were going to go like to the States, to the UK, we would have to go business class and get the light flatbeds, and we are young and don't have that money. But that's the only way I could see it being done. And then bathrooms are another challenge, huge challenge. So in the Airbus A3, I feel like I'm going to get this wrong. I think it's the A380.
Yeah.
I need to check that.
Okay, I'll check that.
So they have accessible bathrooms in the sense that you can modify the bathroom to make it accessible. It makes it larger. Julie Jones from Have Wheelchair Will Travel has written about this, so she's able to see it. They're actually stopping that production. So they've actually got to take that away, and that's hugely disappointing. And so then as a result, people, especially people who wear incontinence aids, or just people who do use wheelchairs and cannot move easily about the cabin without their mobility device, are expected to use catheters to be able to fly that distance. And that's just not right on many, many levels.
I also understand you recently went to Noosa and booked a accessible accommodation.
Again.
Yeah.
Again. So when we went to Noosa, I came up a few hours later. So Brie went up with her friends Emma and Taylor, and I was at the theatre with my father. And so I drove up a few hours later, and they had already sent me a message saying we nearly couldn't get her into the accommodation. And I was like, well, it was specifically meant to be wheelchair. I asked, and they said there was a ramp. And when I got there, I found the ramp. It was next to the accommodation, and it was a homemade ramp that you then put on top of like a brick. And it was really steep and really, really dangerous. I was the only one who I was prepared to put in that position. I did not want my friends to have to do that either, because it was really dangerous. And then again, had to take stabilizers off, had to navigate backwards and forwards kind of thing. If you were someone who was traveling independently in a wheelchair, you couldn't have even got into the building. And then from there, living area was okay, bedrooms were alright. The bathroom had double doors on it, so two-way entry, but once one was open, you couldn't actually get a wheelchair in. There was no way you could get a wheelchair in. There were no grab bars. The shower you could not get into with a shower chair. There was no chance of it. There was no chance, and it did not have a detachable shower head like a shower one, which we really needed. So this accommodation in Noosa, it was impossible for Brie to even have a shower or use the bathroom at all.
So what do you think of, you've had a little bit of a look around the Assisted apartment, what do you think of it?
Oh, I think it's really good. I think that when we travel, you know, if this is in other cities and places like that, like as it's growing, 100% when booking accommodation, we would definitely be like, oh, let's look at what Suzanne State's apartments are available. That's definitely, because you know that it's been designed by people with personal experience and peace of mind. It's, professional experience is great, but if you haven't had personal experience, like even like Jonathan and Monica, who we loved to pieces, and they're my brother and his fiance, and they know Brie really, really well. But until we went traveling together, they didn't fully appreciate potentially some of the obstacles that we come across on a regular basis. Because we're pretty, like, when you deal with it every day, every time you try to go somewhere, you have to pick your battles and you're going to let affect you. Otherwise you'd stop going out. You just, we have to choose what we're going to just accept and let go, what we're going to get upset about, and what we're going to challenge to try to change. Because otherwise we'd never go out again if we just tried to challenge and got upset about everything. And that's just the fact of it. So if we nail the big challenges first, then we can move down the list to what we're just accepting.
It's a very long list.
It is.
What sort of places do you think need to be improved next? So you sort of obviously the changing places. What do you think is the next kind of step, I guess, to making everything accessible and everything inclusive?
I think that public places is just the next step in general, and I don't think that people should be allowed exemptions from it. I just don't. I think there has to be a way to create accessibility. Like a really good example is one of Brie's favourite shops is Lush, but when we went into the city, you actually can't get into it because there's 2 steps out the front.
Oh, there is.
And it's just not necessary. You could change that into a ramp. everyone could get in there. Yeah, it's places like that, when places have 1 or 2 steps out front. It's just not necessary to make it a ramp.
Yeah.
We can all get in there.
Yeah.
We can all get in there. Everyone can enjoy it. Discrimination becomes inherent in the structure of the building. That's where it starts. And then the attitudes from the people can come from the physical structure around them.
I feel like you can't put price on equality.
No, I agree with that.
I guess my last question for you guys is, what do you think is the most important and valuable lesson that you guys have learned from exploring accessibility together?
Ooh.
It's a big question.
Good question.
You give me a few if you like.
Yeah. What do you think we've learned that's been really valuable about exploring accessibility? I think one thing that we've learned is for people who do have struggles with mobility and things like that, especially for people who are fully reliant on a caregiver like Bria's, is go out and explore it, because it is your life, it is your world, and then find what is the challenge, because with more of us coming up against these challenges, even if you're non-verbal, your voice can be heard. I think that's something that we've really learned, that we really, have taken, that you need to go out, you need to explore, because I know that Brie loves it, yes, and our world together is so much greater for it. Like, we don't say no to things, we do go give things a try. I think that's really important. What was that for? Something to do with accessibility. Is it frustrating sometimes when you can't get in places? Yeah, we've learnt that the more we try to explore things, the more we do come up against. And so in that sense, I think that we have really learnt that there is a long way to go. There is a long way to go for things. But the other thing that I've learnt is that we do have people in our corner, like you guys. Like, we do have people who are trying to make this world accessible for everyone and include all of us. So I think that's really important.
Thank you guys so much for taking the time
No,
to
thank you.
come out and explore, and it's been great to be able to talk to you.
Great to see it.